Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the training room. It's November 17th of 2025. The time is, by that clock, 17:48, which is about 2 minutes fast. And I will call the meeting of the Charter Review Committee here in the town of Paxton, Mass. Public Safety Complex Training Room to order. Good to see you all in the warm weather that we're having outside. Or at least I'm dreaming. Okay. We have 9 items indicated on our meeting notice and agenda, and one of the things that you'll notice is that I have added Mr. Bertler to item 6, who will lead the discussion of the 2 draft items that hopefully we can get through today. The first one being the glossary, definition, terms, or whatever section, and the second one being the exercise of legislative powers. And then also I asked in the discussion lead Gary to do items 7 and 8. I thought it would be appropriate for us to have everybody given a chance to lead a little bit of the discussion rather than be totally responsive. I've just spoken to Chuck, and he's willing to do that. Paul's doing it. Gary's doing a little bit. I'll talk to him a little bit more about what he would like to do at the end of the meeting. And Megan, would you be interested in similarly, handling the discussion on some topic coming forth in the future?
Sure.
Outstanding. And that way people can hear other voices and also you guys can get
Okay.
have some of the fun. So with the meeting called to order, we are here, all present. We do have a quorum. And we will now move on to the question about any review or discussion or adoption of the meeting minutes and the draft chart item that we talked about last week at the November 3rd meeting. Does anybody have anything to say about those minutes or enforcement of charter provisions from our last meeting? Any additions, comments, changes, or shall we vote to accept them?
So I just have a clarifying question.
Please.
When we vote to approve the enforcement of the charter provisions, does that mean we're never going back to edit it?
No.
Okay, because I would have some edits after doing some style digging, but that's not necessary for approving the content.
No, what we're doing is we're approving basically the general flow of the words.
Okay.
And then ultimately, when we get everything done, I think this is the best way to do it, although I'd like to see at some point in time us starting to, use that form sheet that you're going to be creating. But at the end of that, we'll go through it to put it all together.
Perfect. Okay.
But again, that will not necessarily be what goes to the select board, because that's what we're going to be using to, go out and have our public input number 2
Okay.
session. And of course, as we get this done, there'll be some things in there that, like, I'd like to put some editorial notes in here. And obviously, we're not going to be like, hey, do you think this should be 5 instead of 4? That won't be something we'll have in the version that's out there, but it will be in the part that will be in our minutes, so that people can see the process that was used and, whatever.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Fair
Any
enough.
answer to that question?
Yeah, so I have no edits to either then.
Paul, anything from you?
Nothing from me.
Gary?
No changes.
Chuck?
No changes.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes and to adopt the enforcement of charter provisions as they appear and will appear in the documentation that will become a public record through the town clerk's office?
Motion to adopt both of those things.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
This is the November 10th, right? The November
Yes.
10th minutes?
Yeah, today is the 10th. This will be the minutes for the November 10th. And I do send those out to you after I send them, just so you can see. I'm not making any changes to it. All basically I do is add at the bottom, when we submitted it, and, where it's going, and it keeps a little agenda on there. Because technically the minutes are supposed, that you see online when you look at them, are supposed to say when it was submitted and all that sort of thing. All right. So we have item number 1 has passed, and now item number 2 has formally been voted upon. I thought we should talk about where on the Google Drive, if we will, where do we want to locate a section for proposed charter draft items and then ones that are adopted. So for instance, we have adopted, again, subject to the fact that it's not the permanent version, but the introduction, the preamble, Article 1, Article 2, et cetera. And over the next couple of weeks, I'll be adding some more stuff, but where shall we put them? How do we best put them out there so everybody can look at them and everything else, and so that we can have a place to find them? Chuck, since
So
you're the
what-
master of that.
Well, what I've been doing is on the date that we're gonna discuss it, that's where I put the proposed version.
Okay,
So like if you go into today's file, you'll see proposed draft Article 2, Article 3, exercise of legislative powers draft. So then when they're approved, so I did some work on this yesterday.
okay,
So I created a draft of charter folder
all right,
and then approved items.
excellent.
So then in the approved items, Article 1, existence and authority, Article TBD, introduction, preamble.
Excellent. Okay, just to clarify that for everybody that might be listening, those are not items, those will be the items when they're the approved items. Those are the items that we have deliberated upon, and we have accepted them, just as we just did a moment ago, and they are now part of the public record. This Google Drive is not a public record. These are things that we will be deliberating, but not things that we have deliberated. We don't deliberate electronically, and we put the items up there in preparation, so each individual can have not only a printed copy if they want, but to have obviously a copy to review and make any changes that they might want for the discussion that will come. And the reason I do that is just to make sure that it's all completely understood by anyone that might have a question, either in the community or other boards or whatever. That is not an open meeting law issue that fully complies with the requirements of the open meeting law. So having decided that, we can now proceed and
Well, I
check
just have a
off.
quick question. So
Yes.
what I would like to do too is, so in this folder, draft of charter, I would like to just start pulling those into a single document. So I'd like to start building the charter in a draft thing, and then as articles are approved, I'll pull them in there, because that'll make it easier as we decide on design guidelines and stuff, to look at how it's gonna line up, and it'll be more evident when you see them all online, if like, ooh, this formatting is different, or this. And then to kind of build out the table of contents there too. So then
Excellent.
by doing that as we go along, hopefully we'll catch stuff, and then there'll be less work to do.
Excellent. And the other thing is, keep in mind that the article numbers are not necessarily the actual ultimate article numbers that will be there, but, that'll allow us for manipulating text and moving it around as necessary when the time comes to finalize the final proposal. But I think that's a good idea, again, just keeping in mind that, we are not allowed to deliberate into items other than in an open session of an
So-
open meeting.
Where are the draft articles gonna go in prior to the meeting for us to review?
Okay.
So what I've been doing is I've been creating a folder for each meeting date.
Right, but I'm saying, if he gives us a number of them, and we don't have, it may be much more than just a particular meeting, is there a place where they will be deposited?
We can create a place, yeah. There isn't right now. There isn't
Yeah.
right now.
All right.
Yeah, I wonder if we just need a folder for just all drafts and then move them out to the approved, like keep them together versus in the meeting, in case we don't remember what meeting we approved or what meeting we discussed, whatever.
Or for that matter, like.
I don't know.
since over
I
the
know there's
couple
probably a
weeks,
lot of
If I
work,
put in
though.
5 items in there, but we haven't scheduled the date,
Mm-hmm.
or if we have a meeting on a date and we don't get to the item, so,
Mm-hmm.
if we look at November 10th, where did it go? Well, it's November
Yeah.
27th.
And I would just ask that, if and when you do that, which you will, send us a note that it's in there now, so then we'll go back to make sure that we read it.
There you go.
Well, could it just live in the draft of charter folder, and then, once it's approved, it moves into the approved items folder?
Could create just a folder, that's proposed items.
Yeah, proposed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking,
Provisions or whatever.
like that.
Yeah.
So then all the proposed items would go in there. then would I create a shortcut from the, because I like having a date folder,
Yeah, it makes sense.
because then but that's how my mind works.
Yes,
Like, all right, this
yeah.
is what I'm focusing on for this.
Yeah.
So I could create shortcuts to the.
I mean, you could create a master list and then date when we reviewed each of them on that one master list. Kind of a little bit of extra legwork, but it has it all in one place.
And I want to compliment Chuck on putting that thing back to use. I mean, for a while we were using it, then it kind of, became unused or whatever, but now that we're back and roaring down the highway again, we can use it like this. And, I mean, this will be something that we may have to make some adjustments to as we go or whatever, but at least we're now getting Chuck, and he's back in his bailiwick among the, all right. Anything else to say or discuss or comment on in terms about the proposed and adopted draft charter items and, that are being used on the committee's, if you will, website, internal website? No? Okay.
I love the organization, Chuck. Seriously.
Status update, obviously, Megan's already mentioned it, but I'll ask her just to formalize where we are, not any sort of rush or it has to be done or anything like that, but just, how are we doing? We getting close to that? So-
Yes, the style guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it all on paper, but just gathering the details, but a couple of interesting things. So overall, our charter should read, it's conflicting. So they're saying no legalese. That's what the government, this is right from the state of Massachusetts charter sort of style guidance, right? That it should be no legalese. So for example, instead of using, subsequent to, they say use after.
Yeah.
Instead of using and/or, you should always use or. So it's like stuff like that, and I'm putting them all together on a piece of paper. So we can have that guide for us when we do this at the final. But at the same time, they say that the reading level of our charter should be high school or college. Like it should be legally accurate, and it's a higher level reading than your typical document.
If I can ask though, where is that when you say they say?
It's
Because-
under the Massachusetts State Style Book for legal documents.
Right, exactly. And unfortunately, that's in disfavor. And it's not the Massachusetts Style Book for legislation. So I would.
Well, it is, because they actually produced, and I'm going to upload
Yep.
it to that style guide, this called the Legislative Research and Drafting Manual. It's like
Right.
75 pages.
Yep.
So they do have some of those pieces in there. That's where I got it.
But just keep in mind that right now, right now, we're at the stage at the public stage. So one place you may want to look at is not only what you're looking at, there's two different resources, but also the Massachusetts Municipal Association has.
Oh, I saw that, and I got to go to that one next.
Yep. That's
So that was one.
That's a good place to look.
And just high level, I mean, overall, they say they follow AP style. That's easy enough to do. We know what that is. I
Right.
know enough of it anyway. Like, it's like, how do you capitalize? How do you not? What words to use? Town and Paxton versus just the word town. And already there's a couple areas that we want to go back. Like when we use the word charter, we know we're referring to the charter that we're working on, so probably it should be capped for consistency. So a couple of things there. And then the only other thing that's worth the discussion is overall in two places I saw that they suggest using chapters and sections versus articles. So something to think about. I noticed in our current, whatever we are calling the current charter, they also use chapters and sections. So something to just decide.
Keep in mind that right now, what we're using is an organizational form. If you look at any of the charters that are in existence now, and I would suggest looking at Sandusfield, Groton, and maybe even Ashland. Those three are relatively recent charters. Sandusfield is one that's going to a vote next month. And the bottom line is, for some reason, the majority of, contrary to what the recommended style book versions are, they've been using articles and sections and things like that. I have no particular stick in the game other than I'm used to using, chapter such and such, section. Now that's the format of laws. So ultimately, if we go from articles and whatever, but when we don't use chapters and sections, we run we run into the situation where we may be following something that's stylistically okay, but it's in conflict with the, we don't want to say, a section in our charter, or an article in our charter is not going to be a chapter and section, because it's not going to be a federal law, and that's why the definitions, which are going to be start of our talking tonight, are kind of important, because like the charter, we can just say, we can call the charter, and that will mean to this if we put it in a definition.
Yeah.
But we do have to be careful not to confuse somebody looking at it saying, well, the law says, no, the charter says.
Yeah.
Versus, that's why we have a general law with no capitals and all that, but we're not the laws of the Commonwealth, we're the laws of the town. Okay?
Well, I'll upload that, because it did have a whole section specific to the use of the word general laws also in these things, so I thought that was important for us to look through. And for the chapters versus sections, it said that has a better chance of passing through legislation if you use that format. So I thought, well, that might be important enough to bring up. But it also said to check with your state rep. So I can do that. I can reach out to her and say, typically, what's your preference when finalizing these?
I think we should probably, I agree, that's a good idea, but I think we should, the reps and senators themselves do not, it goes to a committee.
Sure, but they
And
might
that
have
committee
guidance
is-
on.
is a
She's not
bunch.
an advocate though, right?
Yeah,
Well, no, when they file a bill, they'll file a proposed bill, and what they will file does not necessarily have the same format as what comes into the House, what's called the H, when it gets an H number or S number. And hopefully we'll be filing it in both houses concurrently, so that they can run.
yeah.
But anyway,
I'll ask, just
Yeah.
for the purposes of our making sure,
Yeah.
a research that, we're using the right language, or that's the latest, I don't know.
right, no, exactly, and since they are the present, and I'll tell you, it's been a while since I wrote a statute, but, things in Massachusetts don't tend to change that much in that way. All right, with all that being said, anything else to talk about, or any more information about your Form Ag Guide? I'm glad to see that project is going forward
Yeah.
well, and you've obviously hit upon three big areas to get some advice, and moreover, talking
Yeah.
to Kimberly and,
Yep. And in our previous charter, they did use chapters and sections, so
right,
I don't know if we need to do the same, but before we get too deep, something to think about.
right. All right. Excellent job, Megan. Comments, thoughts, and remarks. I'll just open it for discussion, but how did everybody feel with our presentation, even though I did most of the talk, I think I did all the talking, but that was a work of, from everybody. We had a meeting beforehand, we talked about it, we had a very fantastic PowerPoint that was put together, and I'm trying to find ways that we can use that. One thing I'd like to see is if we can get that onto the town website, our section on the website, that would be great. Just every so often to update that, to encourage people to look at that. But anybody have any thoughts, comments? How did it go in your mind? Anything that we can learn from? Because we'll be doing that again somewhere along the line, and whatever.
Thought the presentation went well. I think it got bogged down a little bit at the end, dealing with the title and the legal piece. But beyond that, before that, I think it actually went well.
Okay. And anything else?
As far as the presentation online, so what you sent me, that's fine to put on there, right?
I
So I
think
can
so.
put that on
Right.
your site. Is that okay?
And I note once again for, like, it's okay. Supper's ready.
I'm awake.
It is so nice to look across there, and I tell you, not that you're not noticed when you're here, but you're more noticed when I look over there and you're not here. It's like, oh no, did we
Yeah.
do something that
No, you didn't do it.
has he had enough of us?
So that's okay to put it on your site.
Absolutely.
Cool. And then as far as how it went, I thought it did go very well. So it's very well received by the select board. I'm glad that there was good back and forth, and we'll get some, good outcomes from it, so, thank you.
The part you didn't see is I was sitting over there because he had his elbows ready at any given time to give me
The hook almost came out.
yeah, well,
Almost.
I feel like they're very supportive of our efforts.
Yes.
They're very appreciative.
I hope that was transparent and came through abundantly clear that everyone is very appreciative of your time and how diligent you are with everything that's in there. So you're not taking it lightly. We see the progress in that, it's not like you've already gone through 5 sections. You're giving it the time it deserves. So everyone appreciates that.
wait till we get to some of the proposed eliminations, and some of the proposed additions and things like that. I can't wait to see that, but, we're at a point now where I think we've got a good flow and good ideas, and they'll be looking at what we've done as not something like, boy, these guys just, cut and pasted from someplace. They really put it together. All right. Anything else to be said about our November 3rd Select Board update presentation? Anything else? Okay. With that being said, we'll move on to the section number 6, which is the discussion of the draft items. I have put them in the suggested order. Paul's going to be doing those 2 items. He can change the order if he wishes. The only reason I put the glossary in first is because I think that, and Megan maybe has hit on that as well, we kind of need to settle down on, how to do things. And one of the ways before we start talking about formatting is to start talking about the words. I have said many times in the past, maybe too many times, but words have meanings, and it's important to use the words in the right sense. And that means capitalizing when appropriate. It means not capitalizing if there's some reason not to. But the reality is, we have run into some words, and I think one of the first things that we're going to find this relevant to is when we come to the point of, talking about days. When, there'll be so many days to do something. There are, and I have them here, I put one in the draft glossary, but there's also Massachusetts Moderators Association, there's a state statute of 20 pages, there's other charters, there's all kinds of ways of defining days. And with due respect, I mean, it kind of throws you off when you start trying to figure out how many days do I have from the time I do this, when you start talking about, well, if it counts business days, whether it counts, One of the things I'm going to suggest you consider, and then I'm going to turn it over to Paul, is in Paxton, we have a town hall that is open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and it's closed on Friday. Well, that affects our 48 hours. That's why when we do a charter, a presentation to and we get it ready, we have to put in the meeting notice, agenda, the notice of meeting and the agenda of the meeting. Has to be done generally on or before the end of business on Wednesday in order to have 48 hours. Well, that means that if it's in there on Thursday and Friday, it can be viewed. But if it's not in there, it may not get in there. It's not posted 48 hours because the 48 hours does not count Saturday, Sunday, or Friday. So we have to consider that. In addition, if there's a holiday on Monday, well, Monday they're not going to be there to do anything. Tuesday and Wednesday, but then they're not going to be there on Thursday. So there can be all kinds of things about that.
I understand your point too, but I think we can also, does that need to be in the glossary? Can we just define that? Like in one of the last articles we reviewed, we just said business days.
Yeah,
So why
but
wouldn't we, why are we making them flip? Why wouldn't we just say business days or calendar days right in the article?
Well, is a holiday a business day?
No,
Is Saturday a business day?
no,
Is Sunday a business day?
no.
What's the definition of business day in business?
But do we define that?
We have to define it because otherwise people will come to us, ultimately will come and say, I don't know how many days. What days are you talking about? So we're going to say, we're going to pick we're not gonna pick the definitions and put all of them in here. We're gonna pick the ones we wanna use. So if we wanna just use business days, let's I suggest, I don't wanna get into the topic of it, but I think we will put in there, a business day is the following. Because if you don't have I just wonder why this starts doing that.
You said words mean something, though. Words have definitions.
Yeah, but
So
we
what-
only,
I think it's a slippery slope. Like, do we have to define every word we use?
yes, because when you're making a
We have to
law,
define every word we use.
well, every word that has a important meaning. Let's follow this through a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry, let's get back into, I know this is Paul's item, why don't we get into?
All I'm saying is, you gotta understand, do you need to define business days? Yes, you do. Why? Because there is a business day description that is used in Charter A, and a different business day description in Charter C, and then there's 3 more that are used here. There are 4 different ways that the days, the word days, all right, is defined in different charters. So we want to make sure that we have one that, for Paxton purposes at least, somebody comes in and files this, how many days do I have to get this done? You have until Monday. And somebody else can come in if they use another business day definition and say, well, I have to get it done by Friday. All right? That's the whole point. Is it 48 business hours, or is it 48 business days in the open meeting law?
So we'll get to that in the glossary,
Yeah.
right? Because that's kind of covered, and maybe we can dig on that, because I know you're going there, Chuck.
So here we go. Do we need to
Well,
have a
and so
glossary?
I
Yes.
will, I'll step in since I'm on the agenda, and just a little more background. I did suggest to Dave that he is in a, kind of a tricky position, being kind of whether it's the author or the originator of some of the material that we're going over. So for him to kind of present it to us, then for us to get feedback or, have questions for Dave, for him to respond to, but then also to keep the conversation moving. It's a lot of work for him to be kind of a moderator, facilitator, but also the explainer, definer, and presenter of a lot of this information. And so it does present opportunities kind of for us to get bogged down and for Dave to, go off on,
Tangents.
a tangent about a day when we really need to, be thinking about the big picture. So that's why I, volunteered my services, and we'll try this out for a night, and if it seems to be effective, we can do it, and if it doesn't, we'll, see if anyone else wants to jump in. So with that, again, I'm not the chair, I'm just facilitating this discussion, but I do want to take a little bit of authority, and part of my job is to move the conversation along. And so if I do need to cut someone off, or say, hey, we got the point, let's wrap it up, I'll do that. So please don't take any offense. So we do have these two.
I want to point out that he's done this before.
I have not done this specific thing before, but, my prior days.
I mean, cutting
At
something.
Heifer, I have some consultation experience, so. In any case, we do have the 2 different things that we want to discuss, the glossary and the definitions, and one of our challenges with this, doing this one right now, is that we don't even, without having the full, gone through all the different parts of the charter, we don't actually know which terms are going to need to be defined or not, because we haven't even gotten the whole thing done yet. So we don't really know what the content is and what needs to be explained or what might be self-explanatory. So, that is a challenge of doing the glossary right now, and I'll just suggest we might, and we probably should, if we decide to continue to do the glossary right now, to revisit this at the end and make sure that, everything in there is still relevant, when we see all of our content. So that's just a disclaimer.
And I think that's fair to say for all articles. but-
Sure. So with that, it is, the glossary is Article 2. So does anyone object to us jumping in here and getting started?
No objections.
No
Right.
objection.
And Chuck, I'm assuming you're going to continue to do your editing in live time? Perfect.
That works.
So, and again, I know, Dave, you said last meeting that you were kind of reading everything, just kind of for the public record and for those that might be listening at home, but I'm, if people are at home and find that useful, please do say so in the comments or the chat, because I don't know that that's going to be the most effective or efficient method, so my preference would just be to, we have the material here in front of us, it's presented on the display, let's just discuss it without reading it word for word beforehand.
Okay.
All right, so who's got we're at section 2.1, word meanings. Who has any comments about, let's just start with I guess we'll go item by item. Ad hoc boards, commissions, and committees. Is this relevant and need to be here? Is there any ideas about how it should be edited?
So I'm going to take the perspective that, for right now at least, if they believe that it should be present in it, he's probably done a good job in terms of drafting it, so he's probably seen it in different articles that he's drafted. So I'm going to say yes, it should still be there. And I have no suggested change to that definition.
Great. Anyone else?
Agree.
All right.
That's the fastest we've gone through one of these definitions.
How about charter?
No change suggested from my end.
Mine either.
Does that need to be in there? I think I'm looking at the glossary and just how long it is. And I feel like we can get,
Okay.
Oh, actually, you know what? You just made me think of something. The only thing I would say is if we're looking at this from defining, what we want to say is for this purpose, when we say the word charter, we mean this document for the town of Paxton. I mean, do we need a clarity? Because you know how when you read a contract, and they say, from here on out, charter refers to the document that you're reviewing, or do we need that
Well,
to
let
say
me point
what?
out that the
Because it could be
charter
any
that we're
charter.
doing now is going to be amended at some point. That's, we're talking about charter review. So you need to say that this document and any amendments to the document that may be adopted in the future. So in other words, it's not just a document we're creating, it's any other document that is a charter or a change or a revision, all right? And the real question that needs to be answered on this one is, should this be a capital C charter, or should it be a lower C charter? But the reality is that, yes, and I'll just add to this, every one of these things here will show up, all right? And when you talk to somebody who's talking about reading the charter and, you know, asking about what they want to see in it and all that sort of thing, people say, we don't want it at the end. It would be helpful for us to know what these words meant before we start seeing them in the charter. Because people are going to be reading section 17.1 or chapter 7 or whatever, and if they don't have an idea what the word is, their word of art. So charter does need to be there. Every one of these words is in a charter. Most of them are in every charter.
Yeah. So could we, do we need to say, it's just a question, that we should say this document this document referred throughout as the charter or something like that?
Well,
Do we
you're
have to say
defining
that?
charter, you got to go from left to right or right to
Okay.
left, but in this case, it's charter, and the definition, which I won't read at Paul's suggestion, but does say this document and any amendments to it.
Okay. So we don't
And
need
unless a
that.
different, the word meetings has a opening phrase.
Okay. So we
So
don't
it's
need the
less-
actual definition of a charter itself?
You want to put
No,
down
we
it's a.
don't. Not in this purpose, we don't. Okay.
Well, again, I put on, you may recall, on one of the things that we put in there when we were talking about the introductory material.
Yeah, the preamble, or
The
the.
official
yeah.
legal definition of charter I put in there.
It's in
Do you
there.
want to have that, or do you want to have the one sentence that's here? The one that was there took up this much space.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That's the legal definition of a charter. So we're either going to have our useful definition of charter, or we're going to have this giant thing which talks about what's a charter.
Sure. So, sounds like we don't need to specify.
Okay.
Kind of related to Megan's point is for that, this is the Town of Paxton Charter, but is this, say what it needs to say?
Well, we still need to think about whether it should be a capital C or.
I think it needs to be capital, because it's referring to the charter, the actual charter, not a
Right.
charter in general.
Okay.
Yep, and it is.
so now, so you make a good point though, so that the capitalization, so are we saying that like ad hoc boards, commissions, and committees, should that be capitalized? I don't
No.
think that should be.
It
right?
shouldn't, because those are just, they're not, they're just, no, I don't think so. I looked that up. I wrote that one down.
Because it's not a specific right?
Right.
How come charter's the second one?
How come it's the second one?
Yeah,
Alphabetical, that's all.
No, it's not though.
it's not though. That's why.
Right. Appointing authority, it is out of place.
I'm sorry, are we back to the,
Charter's
The
before.
second listing, charter, the second glossary item is.
It isn't in alphabetical order is the comment.
Besides that.
Ah, but it
Yeah.
should be. So
So
it should
just
go
it's-
before citizens.
yeah,
Correct.
Okay.
sort of charter was added, and then appointing authority, artifact, and bodies, those were all added after it.
Sure.
All right, there's no
It's just the order.
significance that one is before or another.
Okay. Okay.
So is charter accepted? Can I ask you to grab me my pencil? Just right.
Other than its location, anything about its definition?
No change, my end.
Chuck?
No. I'm just struggling with, like, I feel like ad hoc is a term that we use, right? Like, I'm just struggling with that. I feel like words have meanings, as you say, and do we have to define every word? Like, is
Well,
the.
yeah, but again, keep in the idea that if we say we have a committee, and we don't tell us what kind of committee is, what kind of committee is it? When we establish,
I'm not, give me context. What do you mean by that?
in the charter, we're gonna recommend some new committees. Okay? They're either gonna be a standing committee or an ad hoc committee. I would ask you to tell us what kind of committee we are. Are we an ad hoc committee or are we a standing
We're
committee?
an ad hoc committee,
Why are we an ad hoc committee?
because we're a specific purpose.
Every committee that is created.
But it's for an immediate need. I'm not arguing that ad hoc doesn't have a meaning. I'm saying, do we need to put all these, do we have to put everything in, right?
So we all know what it is. Do you think that everybody out there in the world, in Paxton's word, that's going to be wanting to know about it? I want to join this committee. Well, is it ad hoc or is it a standing committee? Well, I don't know. What the heck's an ad hoc committee? If it's in here, it's something that's in there, and they'll be able to look at it. And they won't be calling up the town administrator and saying, what is this ad hoc stuff? These are words that are going to be used in the charter. And rather than defining them in the section, article, chapter, whatever it's going to be, they're in here so that people, when they go to look at the charter, they will be able to find the word.
I also think it defines how they become one. I think that's really your purpose, right? So I can't just join a finance committee, because according to our glossary, if you're a part of an ad hoc commission or committee, you have to be appointed. Is that what you're trying to prove throughout this?
You could be elected too.
Okay, we don't say
But
that
that would be
there.
defined in the article related to that group.
Okay, yeah.
No, it wouldn't be. You want it defined in the beginning, because you don't want the word being used, the same word being used with different meanings in different sections of the charter. Forevermore, in this charter, an ad hoc committee will be an ad hoc committee, or it'll be an ad hoc commission or ad hoc committee. It won't be an elected committee, because,
But that's true whether it's in the glossary or not. All right, let's move on.
this is not in, for the people that have this in the vocabulary. Ad hoc is a word that's not in people's vocabulary. Right?
I think there's two types of committees. There's ad hoc and there's standing, and so we have both included in here, and I think that's fair.
So are we moving on to?
Appointing authority. And Chuck, when I was thinking about this in advance, and again, thinking about, just the overall length of this document as being a concern, one of the things that I was thinking about is, what would happen if this isn't included? What would, and I don't know if that's the appropriate way to be thinking about this, or not, but it's something we should be keeping in mind throughout, is if it, what would happen if this isn't, is it going to be helpful or not? So we're going to have a lot of these tough choices. Does this need to be in it or not?
Well, let's just respond to that a little bit. The significance of having the appointed authority is because the appointed authority is not the chairman of the board, it's the person that hires somebody, or it's the person that appoints somebody. Who is the appointing authority? Is it going to be, and under the present circumstances, The select board appoints some people. The town moderator appoints some people. The board of health appoints some people. The water board can appoint some people. Maybe they don't, but they can. The Paxton Municipal Light. All right, so there's 5 different entities. So, when it comes down to appointing authority, if there is somebody that appoints you, they can disappoint you. That's one of the powers that may or may not be given to the appointing authority. But it makes a difference, because you have to identify what is an appointing authority versus what is just, the chairman is not an appointing authority. That may change. One of the recommendations that was made by the Council on Aging, and it was removed from their proposed bylaws, was that they appointed the members to their committee. So we have to identify, because not all committees are going to have the same, position as the, so you have to identify who is appointing members to that committee. All right?
I think you were saying it more generally to glossary
Yes.
in general, not to
That's true.
appointing authority, but
But that's
I'm
fair.
good with appointing authority.
So should that be capitalized or not capitalized?
In this instance, we're just defining the word, we're not defining the style, so it's fine.
Yeah. So appointing authority, where is that?
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
So, other than the capitalization. Okay. Artifact?
I just want to say real quick, I know you guys don't want it too long, but like the zoning bylaws, it's 16 pages of definitions.
Oh. Well,
So just to put that out there for reference, so.
Hey, if you want to look at the state's official definition of statutory terms, it's 20 pages.
Yeah.
And by the way, they don't have charter, they have charter in there, but the definition of a charter is a lot longer than this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Chuck, I think we want to keep them all capped, just because
You wanna see
these are the
That's,
words,
Yeah.
not the style
Just
guide.
but for their usage going
correct.
forward.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, artifact.
What changes?
That is recommended by the Committee on Charter Preparation of the
Any
National Cities and
proposed
Towns.
changes to artifact?
I do not.
None.
Bodies.
No changes.
All good? Okay. Body politic.
That's one of the words in the first article.
Yes, do we need to put, only just keeping in your theme of elected versus appointed, do you need that word in an organized group of citizens? Could it be some random, under-the-radar group that are still called body politic? Or does body politic have to refer to an organized group of elected or appointed members?
No, it's got.
Or is it anybody at all?
Citizens. The operative word here is citizens. You
Okay.
can be a resident of Paxton, right? And that would make you a citizen, but it would not make you a registered voter. All right, body politic is the first question that you're going to get when somebody reads the preamble and reads that the town of Paxton, the very first item of this charter, uses the word body politic. So and that's the first example of looking at a word in there that people may not necessarily know or appreciate. And it's in there. Section 1. Talks
I
about
guess
what
then
being
the-
geographic,
I don't think we have that in our preamble.
no, it's in Article 1. Section 1.
Oh.
Existence and authority.
Then, my question is, what does organized mean? Is it,
Yeah, no, we don't have that in there.
A body, corporate, and politic. Is that what you're referring to?
Yep. A body politic is organized, as
Okay.
opposed to just it is an organized entity. It is the it's basically town meeting members minus the requirement that they be registered voters. Because, again, the government of Paxton is going to be responsible for not just the voters, it's going to be responsible to the residents. It's also going to be responsible to the tenants. It's going to be responsible to people from out of town that do business in or work for the town of Paxton. That's why you can have somebody who, for instance, is the DPW commissioner who doesn't live in Paxton, but he can address the town meeting. It's an organized, if you put in of residents, all right, then you're, see, so the idea of it is to use that word for what it is and not to have confusion about anything. If you're a citizen and you're organized, you're a member of the body politic. Citizens are different. It's the very next one.
Anything else to say about body politic?
No.
No. All right, citizens.
So this is my concern with this, with the citizens. We have three terms that essentially amount to the same thing.
No.
We have citizens, registered voters, and voters that you're using synonymously.
No, I'm not. Citizens is synonymous with what?
Registered voters.
Right. But are registered voters citizens? Yes. Requirements for being a citizens is a resident of Paxton.
I don't think a citizen has to be a voter, do they? You're creating an extra step there anyway.
No, it's
So there's a couple issues. Why do we have three terms that mean the same thing? And then why wouldn't we just agree, hey, we're going to use this term?
okay. Is body politic the same as citizens?
No, because it's an organized group.
Well, I mean, you're saying there's three terms that say the same thing. Okay,
There's
what are
three
the
terms by definition in our glossary that are synonymous.
and what
they?
are those three terms?
They're citizens, registered voters, and voters.
Are all registered voters citizens?
And residents.
Yes. Are all citizens registered voters? No. The population of Paxton is almost 4,000 plus people. How many people are registered voters? Around 3,000.
No, I agree, but this isn't what the glossary says.
Well, what does it say for registered voters?
Well, first of all, what citizen says contradicts what you just said. Because it says, for purposes of this charter and any town bylaws, this term is synonymous with registered voters.
For purposes of this charter and the town bylaws.
And then if you go to registered voters.
Yep. I mean, the point of this all is to find these things, and a registered voter is a Paxton voter who is legally registered to vote in the town and whose name appears in the official roll of registered voters. There's a significant change in that. A registered voter, have you ever looked at the listing of who voted and who are registered voters, okay? All right? There is a subclass of people that are registered voters who don't vote. All right? They don't vote. They are legally registered to vote, but their names are stricken from the registrar. They can't go, if they go to town, they may be registered to vote, but they go to town meeting and they say, I'm from so-and-so, you can't register to vote. You're not a current voter. And there's a legal process that has to be created, that has to be followed in order for them to get the authority to vote. So that's why registered voters is different than a citizen and is different than a, all right, there is a difference.
But I feel like the glossary is setting them up to be the same.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
I feel like, I know what you're saying, because it says. under
My definition of
citizens-
citizen doesn't align with your definition of citizen.
But my definition of citizen is a legal definition of citizen. It's not my definition. Your definition is one that you're making based upon, non-legal.
Well, it says.
So you're saying if someone's not registered to vote, they're not legally a citizen?
No. I'm
That's
saying.
what this says.
Where does it say that?
It says, for purposes of this charter and any town bylaws, this term is synonymous with registered voters.
Yes. That's what it says.
So by definition, if someone's not registered to vote, they're not a citizen according to this document. Right? Am I misreading it? That
No.
seems very clear to me.
No, no. You're saying that's the same as 3. Is it the same? It's not the same. So what should we do to citizens to change it, to make it clearer and still maintain its position as a word that has meaning? Does it have to be there?
Does it have to be? I don't know.
That should be maybe the first question.
That's a great question.
Does it have to be there? Do we need to define citizens? It's a word that people have ideas about. It has some legal
But
definition.
where is it used in the charter, and how is it used in the charter that would need clarification or definition, I guess?
So,
What if you have somebody who's a resident of Paxton, but is not a citizen of the United States? Or is not a citizen of the town of
I wouldn't
Paxton?
think you'd be able to vote if you weren't a citizen, right?
Well, I don't think that's true.
But back to the chart, like, how does that relate to the charter?
I'm really confused.
All right, we're getting off on tangents, all right?
Well, no, we're trying to clarify
Right,
this.
we're just
We think
trying to
It's important.
We're getting off on tangents. If you want to answer,
I
if
feel
you
like
just
Gary's got
simply want to
something to
answer the
say.
question, if you're an illegal alien living in Paxton,
Sure.
All
You
right.
probably can't vote then.
you probably can't vote.
Correct.
If you're a legal
Right.
alien living in, or a permanent resident alien, is the phrase, all right? Once upon a time, we had a circumstance where this very question was on Paxton's plate, if you will, because you had a person who wanted to run for an office, and it's in Cambridge all the time, but they were not a citizen of the United States. They were a permanent resident. All right? And Paxton decided that a permanent resident alien can be a registered voter in Paxton and can serve in a town or municipal office in Paxton.
So is that a different term? It should be permanent resident versus,
Person what?
well, you just said another word. A permanent resident has different rules.
We don't even, are we using the word resident anywhere?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's in here.
Or is
Yeah,
it?
residents,
is,
yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't
that-
it ask, what if
that's where I
you're
was going.
15 years old?
Yeah.
What are you, the Paxton?
correct.
so.
You're a resident, but you don't necessarily, you can't be
You're not a
registered to
citizen.
vote till you're 18.
So the purpose, from my perspective, of the glossary is to try to make whatever we read as the charter clear and consistent.
Right.
So we also know that, Dave has likely drafted many of these articles, and there's various words that are already in those drafts. And I think the goal is to make sure that the words have clear meaning, that we may not even see this moment, and he's identifying what those meanings are to make sure that they're consistent. So the reality is that a citizen, under certain circumstances, may be the same as a registered voter, but if he's used those terms in the charter in separate places, then he has to make sure that the meanings are consistent. The alternative is just to go through the entire charter and eliminate certain words, as opposed to giving them the appropriate meaning that we're defining here.
So could you just, yeah, I think where you're hung up, Chuck, is that the definition of a registered voter is different than the definition of a citizen, and essentially they should be the same?
Well, no, they shouldn't be, because a registered voter is not necessarily a citizen.
But you're saying they're synonymous, though, and
Well, then let's get rid of it.
Then let's get rid of
Think
that
a
line.
Yeah, so maybe that's where you're stuck, is that
That's,
I mean,
I think
is it
we're
just me? Is it?
I think we're
No,
debating the
no.
inaccuracy of the word synonymous, because really, if the definitions are different, they're not synonymous.
Correct.
so
So
at
let's strike
anything,
the
and
last line.
if it
Yeah.
helps, I would tell you that in order to make sure that the point is made, and rather than me going off on a tangent and talking about a non-citizen resident alien of the town of Paxton, that person is not a citizen, but they can be a registered voter. It's to bring this topic. I'm not putting, what do they call them, Easter eggs in here, but there are things in here to encourage discussion, all right? So I would tell you that I would be the first one, and Chuck has found it, and it's gotten lost a little bit into some of the conversation here, but I would be the first one to say, for purpose of this charter and a town bylaws, this term is synonymous with registered voters, is clearly not, and therefore that should be removed. And that is what's wrong with one of the things that's in one of the charters that's going to be voted upon in another town. We don't want to do that.
Well, and so your name are listed in the official voter registration records maintained by the town clerk to be considered a citizen.
No, to be a registered voter.
Well, so, but we're looking at the definition of citizen.
Right.
Residents of Paxton who are registered to vote in the town and whose names are listed in the official voter registration records. So unless you're listed in the voter registration records, you are not a citizen.
That's what it says.
Is that what it is intended to say?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so either, so that doesn't seem like the correct definition of a citizen.
So what would you like to define citizen as?
Well, now I'm lost, which is not a good thing.
Right, and again, I'm not sure how citizen is used in
So-
this entire draft,
so
so
fi-
that's,
A 15-year-old is a citizen,
Yes.
but they're not a voter, right? And they're more akin to a resident, and a resident may not be a citizen based upon other factors. But here's the question that I'm asking, and this is not meant to be on the sarcastic side,
No,
but why would you put something in here as a definition when you know it's not consistent?
to make it consistent.
But why don't we just get rid of the whole thing then?
If you think that's
citizens?
appropriate. We can always add it later on if you find a need for it. Citizen is one of those words that's in some, and that is actually the definition of citizens in some charters. But when I saw it, and then I looked further into the legislative history of that, we found out they were confronted with this. All right, for instance, one of the draft charters that was put forth to you has the word citizen in there, and it's undefined, and then it turns around later on and tries to define citizens, but that was only for the purposes there. Do you think we need, let's just start it from this way, and not to take any, but my suggestion to Paul is that, why don't we just discuss whether or not we need citizens at this point in time?
sure.
And the answer to that, from everybody's perspective, is, at least at this time, do we need to have citizens in there?
Well, if we're writing it two different ways and we mean two different things, then yes, we need to define it. Now I'm looking at this going, in our newsletter and other stuff, we asked the citizens of Paxton for their feedback. And as we did that, basically what we're saying is, we only want people who are registered to vote to give us feedback.
And that's not true,
And that's
Not
not
true.
true.
right?
So that definition is not good.
Right.
So let's make a good definition, if we're gonna use it.
I think the question is if we're going to use it, and again, where does this need clarifying in the rest of the charter? Where is there confusion about the reference or the use of the word citizen throughout the charter that needs clarification?
And is it different than resident?
Right,
Because it could be
So
citizen
without
slash
that-
resident in one definition.
that's true.
Because
So-
if they're used interchangeably, I don't know.
I think we pull it, and then when we go through the articles, if it comes
Unless
up,
we find
then
a
we
need
make
to-
an assessment at that point in time.
I agree.
I second that in the sense of a motion.
Okay, so we will strike citizens and revisit it if if there's confusion about it down the road. Okay, days.
This is a big one.
Sorry.
So,
Define
So 2 days.
in terms of the principle that I believe is being stated, if
Right.
it's within 7 days, so if you have something that is due and it's a Monday and you have to do within a certain a number of days, and that's 7, then I understand that it would end up being, to me, a small d. And it end up being, if it's a longer period of time, and then you're going to have a larger D in terms of days based upon whether or not it's going to be beyond the 7-day window. I can see that and understand that, because then it goes from being every single day or business day as opposed to a calendar day.
So right there, that language, I would almost change, because days versus days, right? They're same word, two different meanings. Do we add business days and calendar days for reference and what those
Yes.
mean?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's what you're saying.
Well, don't look at me as saying it. The reality is that, for instance, initiative petitions. All right, that's where we'll find this, and we need to fix it because the state talks about how many days you have to file an initiative petition. All right? And the question is, are they days or are they days? Are they business days or are they calendar days? Or consecutive days is another phrase that's being used and more in favor. And the problem is if you don't define one or the other or make the same for both, and to what Chuck is probably thinking and not going to say it for the moment, but because I agree with him, that's too complicated. If you make days, as long as it's less than 7 days or 7 or less days, then it's every day except business days. So now you have something happening, Monday's a holiday, the town hall is closed, so there are only 3 days in a days if you're talking about business days, because it's not the business of it's the business of the town, it's not the business of the, Joe Blow's lawn mowing service. So what are we going to do so that it covers the circumstance where we have the town of Paxton in a situation where we have a Monday as a holiday and the town hall's not open on,
Right. Well, I think calendar days and business days.
And then I think do we eliminate the reference to when the event will occur? I think we eliminate that, and we just specify in the article
Yes.
whether it's business or calendar.
Yes. I think that works.
And then one question would be, is a business day defined as the days town halls are open? So is Paxton, and that could change, based on the budget and everything, that
Or-
could change from year to year, what days the town hall is open. But I guess that would be a clarifying question. Is a business day the day the town hall is open?
It's Friday,
Yes,
not a
because
business.
Friday, summer hours or something like that, we should probably, I think you need that, the days that the business or town.
So, yeah,
Town
so
is
in our
open.
definition of business days is a day that the Paxton Town Hall is open, is a business day.
So sorry, what did I say? Days, so how do I do it? Add that days town hall is closed is,
Can you put it where it says shall refer to town hall business days only?
business days shall refer to the number of days that the town hall is open in any given week or something like that. Do you think? Think that says it? I mean, the reality is that who knows what's gonna happen.
Business
I mean,
days.
the budget situation doesn't seem to say that we're gonna have a town hall that's gonna be open on Saturdays like it used to be. It's gonna be a 4-day normal
So how
business.
about Saturdays, Sundays, legal holidays, and days the town hall is closed shall not be counted?
There you go.
And I think that's appreciative because, I can tell you that somebody complained and said, well, the town hall's open on Sunday. I went in on Monday and they charged me the late fee, if you will, on some sort of license or whatever they had to have. Well, that shouldn't have happened.
Okay. Calendar days.
And then when we get to the point where
that-
we're talking
that
about how
works.
many days, we can use, it'll be 8 calendar days or 7 calendar days. And
And that definition now works.
right.
Any other comments on days?
I think in a daze.
Days and confused?
and you thought this was going to be fun.
All right, direct reports.
Oh, I had one edit. I don't like the word subordinate. Can we just say whose roles are who report to a manager? That immediately subordinate to a manager just sounds so, I don't know. I don't like it. It's just me.
I don't
that-
like the whole word. I don't like the whole content, and frankly, I put that in there just because it's used so many places in town.
Then let's strike it.
could just be-
I personally would strike it.
The whole definition? Direct reports?
This is one of those cases that Chuck,
Wait, okay, yeah, fine. I just thought if it's in the charter, we should define it.
because it's in other charters, and if
Is
you
it in
look
ours?
It's, we don't have a charter.
Dave, if you put everything
Oh,
in
no.
that is in every other charter and you're expecting us to catch it and say, why is
No,
it
I'm-
there? Then we're really kind of screwed.
Well, you
All I'm saying is, I would
come
just
to the
rewrite
context
it.
of a business day. If I had said, let's put business day in there, you guys would have
I
thrown
bet,
something at me.
I bet direct reports is probably in our charter. Something tells me it's in there somewhere. If that's the case, all I'm saying is, it should say, direct reports are town employees whose roles report to a manager.
Those
That's
are
it.
like subordinates, right?
I just don't like that word because it's not very leader friendly.
Okay,
Right.
are immediately what? Immediately below that in rank,
Who's those report?
They just report to them.
who report?
Report to.
They're accountable to their
I don't
manager.
think.
And again,
I think
is
we
this,
just take out
is
direct
it,
report.
is
I
direct
like
reports
direct report. People know what direct report is.
necessary in the
Yeah.
first place? Is this something we want to include?
Well, I don't
So
suppose
what?
anybody's read any of the charters, the contracts, the collective bargaining contracts of the town. You'll find direct reports is in a lot of those.
We use it all the
That's
time
okay.
at work, but it
Yeah.
defines who's reporting to
We
me.
don't want subordinates.
No,
We're all equal.
So,
yes.
This is going to show in the way of, in terms of, in the discipline.
Gary?
Gary's dazed.
so before we go further, I'm suggesting, Dave, if there are other definitions here that you really don't think should be in our charter, why don't you tell us now?
we
so
strike 'em
we
now?
can strike them instead of going through this debate.
'Cause I'll challenge everyone if you want me to.
For example, the word emergency, I feel like we probably all know what that means. Just saying. I don't know if we did. We might need emergency preparedness plan, which could need to be in there, but I don't know the word emergency needs to be in there.
Well, for instance, the select board can schedule a special town meeting, right?
Oh,
Under
so
any
emergency meeting.
Okay. Now, the only time it can be.
Wait, so direct report, are we done with that? Is that in or
Yeah,
out?
we should probably solve that one.
Out.
Out? I haven't heard a compelling reason for it to be in.
It's not like it's a different definition.
No, it's not
Yeah,
a
it's pretty
unique
standard.
use to
Yeah.
this. Out.
And we can always bring it back if we're going through
always
the
bring it
article and be like,
That's
hey,
it. Good. Election officers.
When Megan
that
shakes her
mean-
head, no, I don't know if it means what it means.
No, it means, I don't have any, I'm good on that one.
Is that it's relevant to spell out who the election officers are?
Well, not everyone's going to know who they are.
Yeah.
I grant you that.
Sure.
I'm not sure how it's going to be in the context, but I'm not opposed to the way it's written for now. Was there an intention to actually include it or to debate it?
I resent that.
No, you shouldn't, because you're the one that said it.
I said it because.
Easter eggs, I heard it 3 times.
And we're not criticizing, we're having fun.
I said it because it appeared that the particular word, direct reports, appears in a heck of a lot of municipal documents out there. Somebody had a reason for doing it. I put it in there based upon, was it something that met the, not the purple test as we call it, but the idea of enough people must have put in there must have been some reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe you guys can give me an idea.
How about officers?
I think it makes sense, because I'm assuming there's guidelines for election officers
Yeah.
in the charter at some point.
Seems
Exactly.
relevant.
So we could either define it in that article, or we could keep it in the glossary.
Yeah,
Okay.
committee member could not be an election officer, because it's not in there. I think it needs to be in there.
Okay.
And you'll notice that if you look at the list of election officers, you'll see that some of them are committee members. And that is at least close to being a conflict of interest.
Okay?
Okay, I won't get into anything, but they know. who they-
Okay.
But I reserve the right,
Good to
if we're
define.
going through an article and this election officer's in there, it might make more sense to define it, because why are we making people flip if we don't have to?
Sure. That's-
Right, so it might be, I say we leave it in for now, but then we potentially take it out if we can work it into the articles.
And that goes
Yeah.
without saying for everything, right?
Okay.
Emergency, the only reason that I put it in there was because it has some significance. If the select board wants to continue a meeting, all right, a special meeting, certain things have to be held within the first 3 months and the last first 4 months and the last 4 months of a calendar year. If, for instance, the budget has to be done, all right, by June 30th. All right, but what happens if on June 29th, we have a COVID outbreak and everything like that? The only the only entity with power to change that town meeting date is right now the governor. But if you want to give the selectmen the power to do that, well, this is how you might do it, by defining emergency and saying in the charter. Remember, the state law supersedes, but the town law can supersede the state law in cases where the state law.
Does anyone see that happening in this circumstance?
I just don't know.
I don't know, it happened to. Again, keep in mind, the only reason things are here is because for unforeseen
So I
circumstances.
don't have an objection to emergency staying, personally. I do want to, once we resolve that, I want to go back to the section before that.
Election officers?
Yes.
All right. Chuck, any comments on emergency? Whether it's relevant for inclusion?
We're not really adding any new qualifying it in any way, right? This is what most people understood an emergency to be,
That's what I mean.
right? So
Pretty
yeah.
universal.
Tell that to the police officer, stop somebody who's racing off with their dog in the thing, and says, that's not an emergency, allowing you to.
Do we want to vote for inclusion? Do we want to?
Yeah.
All right. Who, in favor of leaving emergency in?
Aye.
In favor of removing emergency?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Out she
abstain.
goes.
We just
Emergency's
had a
out.
vote like that didn't agree. That's the first time this has ever happened.
That's right.
The first time.
And we can always
Yeah.
undo this, where if we see there's an article where we
Yeah.
should have,
So-
yeah.
All right, yes,
With your
Gary,
permission, so
back
do
to
we-
election officers?
Do we, as a town, use all those terms? Do we have a ballot clerk? Do we have an inspector? We have a warden?
Yes.
We have those three things. I just want to make sure before we, because
Yes.
I don't know that answer.
We do, those are the people.
Tellers?
who go
I
to-
was just gonna say that. Now that you say that, we don't define what a teller is.
Well, when you go to town, these are all terms that relate to elections and town meeting. And there are ballot clerks, those are the people that start, you don't see them because they're behind the scenes, counting the votes and certifying the votes.
Okay.
Right.
So we feel good that all these
If-
positions are relevant
If
and,
we have them and we use them, then I'm okay with the
Okay.
definition.
okay.
Okay. But we do have them? We have tellers? We do?
So the tellers were the ones that actually went around the room at the town meetings and counted that they were
Oh,
appointed and
okay.
for that particular purpose. But I did not know we had an inspector.
Okay.
Like the house inspector?
No.
Those
No,
inspectors?
no,
It's got to be an
It's
election.
an election, this is in the election process.
I'm not sure who that person is and what they do.
Okay. But to the best of our knowledge, this is,
There's a number of
Good
tables
question
that go in.
for,
sure.
Well, there's a lot of, and some of those people are in both, they have two different positions. But you don't see people who count the ballots, because that's done in a closed session, after the voting, the polls close. I mean, when the last person is voted and they shut the door, those guys are behind now, and then they're counting the votes. I know the machine does it and all that sort of thing.
yeah.
but
But to your point, if we don't have an inspector or ever will,
We
we
do.
could probably take
We
it
do.
out.
We have every one of these offices, people that serve this position. And in fact, they get paid,
Oh.
or they want to get paid. They
So
don't-
Who's
is
our
this,
current inspector? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
Who's our current inspector?
are they hired by election?
I don't, I didn't bring my book, but I have a book of all the appointments, yes. And these guys are appointed by the select board.
Is town meeting considered town election? Or should
No.
we have to specify town
No.
elections and town meeting?
Town meeting is different than town election.
Do we have an inspector that you guys have elected?
If you look at the list,
I'm not sure.
I don't know if you have access to it online, but the list of 2016 appointments appointed by select board,
2016?
2016, what is it? 2026, fiscal year 2026.
Oh, okay.
So do
Appointments.
we have these positions at both elections and town meetings? So I'm wondering, do we need to?
Anywhere
work town
there's,
meeting?
anywhere there's an election, any circumstance where there's an election, there are these positions. Now, whether or not they're different people or not is not, is, in a big town yes, in a small town, it could be the same person has 2 or 3 of these positions.
So my question is this, do we need to say at the last line, town elections and town meetings? Or do we not need to say that?
Well, that
But
was different, wouldn't it?
They are, well,
So the,
Yeah, I would say-
officers of
well,
town
'cause-
meeting different from election?
yeah, I would, yeah, just to make it, let's put town elections and meetings. All right, but they're,
Does that make sense? I know, I'm just raising it. I don't,
no, it does make sense, and the town moderator appoints people to run all right? The only person at a town meeting that exists is the clerk who certifies that you're a registered voter. If you have somebody running around who is, remember the colored ballots? You held up a green if you were in favor, and you held up a red if you were against. If those were the ones that went around and or they said, hold your hands up if you're in favor of, those are the people that go around and count the ballots at a town meeting. But they're not the same as are appointed by the select board, separation of powers, legislative versus executive. All right, so you don't have all of the same positions at town meeting that you have at town elections, because the moderator appoints or chooses, and he basically does it, or she basically does it by volunteers. But they are appointed positions as far as town elections. Okay, so that's the reason why it gets a little, if you add in meetings in there, you kind of infringe upon the power of the town moderator.
so don't add it.
Well, I mean, I see why you're saying add it. I don't want to, the town moderator's duties and powers and all that stuff, we'll clarify that. But so we don't need to put it in an election officer. We don't need to put a separate glossary term, because it'll be clear in the description of the town meeting what powers of the town moderator are.
Anything else on election officers?
So I'm leaving it in town meetings, or am I taking it out? Or am I not
Leaving
adding
it
it?
in.
It wasn't in there, so am I not adding it?
I would suggest not adding it.
I'm confused again.
Are we, so we're back to the original election officers unedited, leaving it as is.
Okay?
Anyone object to that?
Have we decided to eliminate emergency for all purposes?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I just want to clarify, and I don't want to spend a big deal on this, but election officers. The reason we said town meeting was because at the town meeting, we do have election officers that oversee that meeting, right?
But they're not election officers.
They're not.
But so then it's in a different capacity or a different,
Okay.
Which will
it's
be,
not an election.
which will become
Okay.
clear in the.
It's not an election, okay, got it. It's a vote, not an election. Got it, thank you.
There you go.
They're called,
Okay. Ex officio.
This one has a question that will need to be addressed.
And
But-
what is the question?
Okay. Some people think ex officio means that, for instance, let's just use the town administrator here, okay? The town administrator is a valued person to have here, and I can't say enough. And that's not just because he goes back and has a chance to say bad things about us or good things about us. But the question is, can he vote? Some people think that an ex officio member, all right, is not allowed to vote. That's contrary to the way it's supposed to say. All right, he can tell us everything else, but if it's we have 6 people here, and we have 5 people here, we have 3 people here. If we don't have a clear, you vote for one, and another 2 vote for another one, and I abstain, well, we have a deadlock, nothing happens. Do we go to the town administrator and say, how would you vote? Well, that's really not a fair question, unless he has the right to vote, all right? So the question is, number one, whatever we're going to define ex officio as, are we going to specify that the ex officio member in our world has a right to vote or not? Because, for instance, the town clerk isn't, by definition, is an ex officio member of the elections board, the board of registrars or voters, or whatever they call them. All right? So, does the town administrator have a right to vote? Well, yes. But do we want every ex officio member of a committee or board or a commission to have the right to vote? Or do we want them to be here as an advisory or liaison role?
It's a big one.
So, the way that you've defined the last sentence
Uh-huh.
is that they do have the right to vote unless we specify it in this charter or in a bylaw.
Right, that they
So
don't.
if we come to a section of the charter or a bylaw that says, you know, for this particular board, we do not want this person who's an ex officio, do we want to have that level of specificity, or we want to make it more broad and address it now?
Ooh, I think we need to make it more broad and address it in one definition, because I feel like we might forget the instances in which we don't want them to vote or do want them to vote.
So what are the pros and cons of having them vote?
I mean, if you give them the
Curious
right to vote,
perspective.
then the question comes, when do they have it? Do they have a right to break a tie? It's like the president pro tem of the Senate can vote if there's a tie in the Senate. You know, do we want, for instance, the town administrator to have the right to vote if we have a tie, to break the tie, or do you want to have them to vote only if we invite them, or never to have the right to vote?
Here's
And
ano-
we can solicit your opinion on this too.
Well, here's another consideration. Our town clerk isn't a resident of Paxton.
Right.
Oh, so I can't vote anyway.
So, yeah, does that impact it? They wouldn't be able to vote, right?
They are able to vote for the committee business, not in the town, not on an election, but they are able to vote on decisions relating to the administration of their committee.
Essentially, by doing that, it would allow you to
Nothing
vote
personal,
at select
Lori.
board
Nothing
meetings,
personal.
right? We're kind of opening a can of worms. here.
What'd you say?
I said, by doing that, we're essentially allowing you, as an ex officio member of the select board, to vote
Well,
the
of
select
this,
board, or of this
or
one.
of any board, well, or of all boards.
It's just ones that I'm appointed to because of my position. So like this one, I'm not an
You're
ex
not an ex
officio
officio
member
member, right.
here. I'm just
Oh.
coming here because I want to support you. So that's not because I'm required to come here. But there are some other boards and committees that I'm a part of, but I'm a ex officio member, so I do not vote there. I'm just simply there in an advisory role.
Would you want to have the authority to vote in some of those circumstances?
I mean, I could see the benefit in some situations, but then others, it poses kind of a
Conflict.
Conflict.
dilemma. Yeah,
Conflict
for
of
me.
interest.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of them voting.
Me either. That's where I was going with that.
So currently they don't vote, right?
In most instances where you're ex officio, you're not voting.
So what was your motivation, Dave, for making them vote? Is that
He's
based on
leaving.
feedback?
That's where the definition stands, unless you change it. The definition of ex officio by law, if an official vote, if he was an ex officio member of this board and voted, and it peed me off so much that I go to court, the judge would say, no, ex officio means he has the right to vote. By being by virtue of the position, he has a right to vote. So if we want to change that across the board, but leave some circumstances open, like
Yeah, so we can find one-offs where it makes sense, but not leave the door open so that it's a
everyone.
blanket.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how it currently stands now, right? So did we get any feedback that people wanted to change that?
So why can't we then
clarification.
deal
We want
deal with
people-
that one-off by simply indicating that the ex officio members shall not have the right to vote unless authorized by a
Specified.
majority of the select board?
Okay, one quick thought on that. Keep in mind that this applies to entities. I mean, we're gonna talk about autonomous and semi-autonomous groups, but this would apply to like elected water board. It would, or the DPW building committee or whatever. I mean, does the director of public works have the right to vote in a water board meeting? if he's ex officio and you don't answer that question, an argument can be made that he has a right to vote. Because, again, unless you change it, the definition of ex officio means that they have the right to vote. I think that's where, in one couple of cases, Steve and I were getting into a little bit of a conflict, because he would call things ex officio, and I would say, that's fine, but which one? You know, is it voting or non-voting?
I think the person should have the right to add their insight and add their value, but not have the right to, from a voting standpoint, I think that there poses a potential conflict of interest that we don't want to go down.
I would agree with that.
But we're not going to change the town clerk's situation, because that comes out of a statute. Okay, so the town clerk will be an ex officio with voting rights of the Board of Registrars of Voters.
Would you be opposed to me getting some more information on this and bringing it to the next meeting? Like if we parking lot this one and then revisit?
Parking lot,
Sure.
that's a definite bad rule, that's in terms
Okay.
of open meeting law, but. Whoa, yes, I would,
Just put this one to the side.
I would
And then next time I'll
then we
bring
get
the
in-
updates to everyone.
Then we start to get into picking and choosing who's allowed to vote and who isn't, right? That's kind of where you're
If
going.
it's authorized by statute,
That's different.
that's one, and
We should say that.
preface that by saying that unless authorized by statute.
Yeah, by statute or this charter, or town bylaw,
Well,
right?
I don't have, no, I have a problem with that, because then we are picking and choosing.
Picking and choosing.
As opposed to just having an authority above the charter really telling us what needs to get done. For example, what you just said about the town clerk.
Would you rather not, well, okay, we don't have to do anything about the town clerk, because that's beyond our ken.
No, but it should be worded that that's a statute, and therefore that stays. Like, if
Pursuant
it's,
to,
that ex officio members should not have the right to vote, but they should contribute and support the committee unless it's, they shouldn't vote unless it's a statute, right? Is that what you're saying?
So unless authorized by statute, ex
Okay.
officio members shall not have the right to vote.
Yes, so unless, say that again so Chuck can get that.
Unless
Unless,
authorized by statute, ex officio members shall not have the right to vote. And we could put an asterisk, because then town administrator will get back to us at a different meeting.
Great.
I like that.
yeah.
One comment to go to the, we'll table that, is that okay?
Yeah.
Not.
You will see, and I will tell you that this ex officio whole thing came to my attention as being something that was a little bit, needed to be fixed early on when we were having our meetings with people. And I think I settled the way you'll get the test. I wrote a particular section to respond to this in the town administrator / town manager thing that we'll be getting to shortly. But have a right to be heard, but not to vote, is the phrase that I've put in there. I think that right to be heard,
I like that. You could add that in. Ex officio members have the right to be heard, but do not have the right to vote.
or but not vote. Right to be heard, but not to vote. Okay, is that, and,
Just time check. It is
Yeah.
7:15, and we said this would be our,
And
And then you can
Our
delete all
time.
the stuff beforehand, Chuck.
well, we also, because we didn't put an end point on our agenda, we keep going for 15 minutes, or 2 minutes, or 5 minutes, or not.
let's just get the wording figured out on this, this ex officio,
So what can
and
I
then
delete?
let's figure out our next
Was
meeting
that-
dates.
What can I delete? Do you say?
All of it, ahead of it, before it. So it's only one sentence now.
Oh, so none of this, we don't need any of this?
I think so. Hold on.
Subject to term limits and,
Well, that's going to be, they're not going to be subject to term limits.
I think what we need is
We don't.
start with unless authorized by statute, ex officio members have the right to be heard but shall not have the right to vote. Ex officio members are defined as those who are appointed by, right?
2A, whole point to 2A.
Appointed to. Yeah, so after vote, you could say ex officio members.
so this should be first.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So we will
Wait, hold on. So,
Ex officio members are defined as, anyone automatically appointed to a town board, committee, or commission due to their position as a designated town official or town employee. Yeah, I think that's it. The rest of it, I think we can cut, right?
I think we don't cut the issue about when they terminate. Their association will terminate when the no.
Okay, yeah, keep that in.
A
Yep,
designated town
yep.
official or employee.
Okay.
Anyone else, everyone approve on this definition of ex officio?
Pending further.
Pending any other?
Yeah.
Review.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
So,
Okay. So then with that, I'm going to suggest that we call that good for this working session.
Well,
and
we do have to talk.
We have
about
meeting dates
meeting dates.
to figure out before we adjourn.
I know December 1st was that a town meeting or
That's our
Yes.
special town
Yeah.
meeting.
special
Yep.
town meeting? So when is everyone next available in terms of a regular Monday evening? Knowing we have,
Oh.
the, end of the month is coming along with holidays.
Well, we know we're not going to do December 1st, because that's the election,
I can't do the
a
8th.
special town meeting.
If we're looking at the month of December, I could do the 15th.
December 15th?
I could do that.
Is that a regularly scheduled select board? or
Select
they
board
have
is the 8th and 22nd.
So 15th, we have some flexibility if we need it.
I do a little longer.
Eight,
Chuck?
no, what?
8th and
Do
22nd.
the 15th?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yep, I can do the 15th.
All right.
We could do another
Want to do it?
90-minute session?
Yeah, all right. Do the 15th. And are we assuming the 22nd and 29th are not good for everyone's calendar?
Yes.
Okay, is there another meeting date we can sneak in there somehow?
I could do other days in those first weeks of December that, like if we did a Monday and a Wednesday or something like that, I could do that. Or Tuesday, whatever.
Okay, what date are you thinking of? So we got the 15th, that's going to be there, a 90-minute succession.
Yep.
I could, I mean, the 9th or the 10th is a possibility, if anyone else could do that. 2nd or 3rd.
The 9th would be Tuesday would be most likely to be successful. I'd have to double check the calendar, but.
So the 9th is being proposed. I'm sorry, Gary.
No, it's fine.
I could do the 9th.
Same, should we, 5:45 on the 9th?
Yeah,
Would that be a 90-minute?
yeah.
Okay.
Which days would you say?
We said that the December 9th and the 15th, both 90-minute sessions. Okay.
I think that's fair. I do have a request, and it's not gonna, I'm saying this with all seriousness. So the future articles that you send to us, I'm asking that before we review them, it may be helpful for us to know whether you are truly in support of that being part of our charter, or whether you want it just to be open for conversation because it appears elsewhere. Because I really believe that, I understand why you're doing it, but I think that it helps me to know that if you are fully behind what you're proposing, then it's a part that I think we want to hear that in a different way, as opposed to you found this in different places, and you want to make sure that we just talk about it.
Okay. Does everybody agree with that? I mean, my point in doing it was basically to give you the point that there's the plus and the minus. Part of that was was one of the precipitants to me saying, well, let's have somebody else present it. All right? But I can present anything that I agree with, but then you don't necessarily have any insight to the other side of the coin. you know, and so I was kind of against doing it that way, but if you prefer it that way, I will make sure that I present to you something that I can say, well, you can change it if you want, but this is what I want. You know, I don't want it to be that kind of a meeting.
Well, I think Gary's saying, like, when you send it to us, if you make a note, I'm in favor of this one, or I'm not in favor, or this is for discussion, I'm not, you know, like when we go to town meeting and people say the select board has no opinion on this, or the select, like, under each article, there's a note. So just something like that, saying, like, this is for discussion purposes, right? Just so we know, like, oh, you're advocating for this or not advocating for it.
I mean, the conversation, citizen, we didn't really need to have.
Yeah, we wasted a lot of
And
time.
we just wasted time in doing that because it wasn't something that you really were in favor of. So I'd rather hear stuff that you're really impassioned about to be a part of it as opposed to just throwing it out for conversation because we don't have that much time to get it resolved.
That's a good point.
Okay?
And also, we're looking at you and appreciating your guidance. That should be in there from a legal perspective, or should.
You know, I understand, and I'll do it that way, but subject to one caveat is that you understand that if I put something in there, and commas aside, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right just because it's the one that I've picked. I mean, there are a lot of charters.
It's all subject to editing. Dave.
Yeah,
We
so
can
I
have
just
a
want you to know that. I'm
conversation.
not trying to.
Yeah.
We'll still rip it apart.
And if we think it should be in there down the road, we'll ask to add it in.
We'd rather rip apart your best effort
It's
than,
a different conversation to have than just having as a general conversation. I don't want that.
I just don't want you to see, like, may have happened in another time where you were asked for your opinion and it just never went anywhere. So. And once again, we have our town administrator present, has offered to do something which will help make our lives easier.
Yes.
And appreciate it. With that being said, anybody else have anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We are, by unanimous vote, adjourned.
Do we have any feedback?
Just think how much fun this is going to be when we get to the really, I won't say combative, but the ones, should we eliminate this committee?
Should we bring snacks next time?
Should we recommend this committee
Some
become
reinforcements for this one.
elected, appointed, not elected? I think there's too many elected positions. No,